I could go on and on about what a great man Joe is, how much he has accomplished in politics, how selflessly he helps others, how good he is to his family, but this is neither the time nor the place. Good morning. It is Thursday, February the 23rd, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host and the only true conservative in the United States today. So, today after the Serenity Prayer, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Star-Spangled Banner, we will have no free lunch, Alex-Epstein, and Roadmap for Revolutionaries. All that and more when I get back. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Your heart, face your parents, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mercy, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets was bursting in
Thank you. And now, there's no free lunch. 250 Economic Truths by David-Bahnsen. Inflation is a way to take people's wealth from them without having to openly raise taxes. Inflation is the most universal tax of all. Thomas Sowell. This is a truism with many centuries of precedent, and while it is, indeed, universal, it also is highly regressive, which is one of the reasons it's so unforgivable that those who most loudly defend a progressive income tax system advocate policies that create the regressive result of inflation. Inflationary effects in consumer goods hurts lower income people more because the price of those goods represents a higher percentage of their income than those in higher income tiers. This is mathematically undeniable, yet also easily ignored by those who advocate for such policies. Inflation is like that. Easy to ignore its impact year by year, but impossible decade by decade. And that was No Free Lunch by David-Bahnsen. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Alex-Epstein energy talking points. The myth that 97% of scientists agree about a climate crisis. And I got two things to address about this particular article. But first, the article. Myth. 97% of climate scientists agree that we face a climate crisis that requires the rapid elimination of fossil fuels. Truth. Most climate scientists agree that we have some climate impact. This does not at all justify the rapid elimination of fossil fuels. If you've ever expressed the least bit of skepticism about calls to rapidly eliminate fossil fuel use to prevent a climate crisis, you've probably heard the smug response, 97% of climate scientists agree that climate change is real and human-caused. This response is inane. While 97% of climate scientists agree is presented as a logical scientific argument against fossil fuels, it's an illogical, unscientific argument that 1. Falsely equates some climate impact with catastrophic climate impact. 2. Ignores the huge benefits of fossil fuels. 97% fallacy. Number 1, falsely equating consensus about some climate impact with consensus about catastrophic climate impact. There's a consensus that fossil fuel use has some climate impact, but the 97% claim is used to make you believe the consensus on catastrophic impact. The usual purpose of saying 97% of climate scientists agree that climate change is real and human-caused is to make you believe our climate impact is catastrophic, a climate crisis. But neither the statement itself nor the studies it's based on say our impact is catastrophic. Notice how insignificant the 97% refrain is. 97% of climate scientists agree that climate change is real and human-caused. It tells us nothing about the change's magnitude or danger. In fact, it's consistent with mild, manageable, and economically beneficial change. The basis of the 97% of climate scientists agree claim consists of surveys of the field of climate science, such as looking at a large collection of papers and quantifying how many explicitly or implicitly claim that human beings are having some sort of impact on climate. The 97% surveys either agree on some unspecified impact or at most attribute rising CO2 levels so far as the leading cause, over 50%, of the mild 1% centigrade warming we have experienced to date. But they are abused to claim 97% agreement on catastrophic climate impact. Now, a couple of things on this. This is all good information for you and me, between us conservatives kind of thing. Okay? So, because, you have to know what the truth is. So this is a good way to find out exactly what is the truth so you can be confident when you deal with the left. Now, his recommendation is basically to try to prove a negative. Try to prove that either there is no climate crisis or that there's no climate change or that the rate of climate change is not catastrophic, but the whole idea is prove a negative. And he thinks he's being helpful by providing you with various types of information, facts, and statistics to back that up. And he's not. The simple way to handle this is if somebody says, well, 97% of scientists say that there's, climate change is man-made or whatever, you just say, no, they don't. That's it. You win. Because the person you're dealing with more than likely is one of those useful idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't have the facts. They don't have the statistics. They're just repeating what they heard somebody on television say. Even if you were dealing with somebody on TV, you can still say, no, they don't. Because more than likely, they're not going to have any of the statistics in their hip pocket anyways. They have no way of proving it. And remember, the burden of proof is on the left. The left are the ones that want change. Okay? But they don't want to have to prove it. They don't want to have to go through all that hassle. They want to do things backwards because it's more powerful. If they can wear us out trying to prove a negative, which is impossible, so much the better. Because then as we get worn out, they just simply step in, take over, and do whatever the hell they want to do. The second part of this is, as I've said many times, you've got to be listening careful when they start quoting statistics, particularly when you're talking about polls, surveys, and studies. 97% of scientists agree. That's what the left is going to say. But it's a lie. It's a flat-out lie. The fact of the matter is, maybe in a particular survey, 97% of those surveyed. Okay? Now, climate scientists worldwide might number in the thousands, but maybe the survey was only a few hundred people. So 97% of, say, 500 is 450, let's say. That's a whole lot different than 4,500 or 45,000. You see what I'm saying? The whole reason they say 97% of scientists, not of those surveyed, is because it has a bigger psychological impact. The whole idea is to make you intimidated, to bully, scare you, and intimidate you into shutting up. And you simply say to them, no, it isn't. No, they don't. And you can do it with confidence because, again, they don't have the statistics. They don't have the facts at all. And the burden of proof is on the left. So, again, that was Alex Epstein, Energy Talking Points. It's one of his newsletters that I subscribe to. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Roadmap for Revolutionaries. We're going into Chapter 3, Economic Pressure. And as we're going to read this chapter, a lot of this is going to be told, but the authors are obviously left-wing. But the thing for my audience to listen to is to get an idea of how they think, how the left thinks, and just because the left does something doesn't mean we're prohibited from doing the same thing. So keep that in mind. Journalist and anti-lynching activist Ida B. Wells Barnett stated, "The appeal to the white man's pocket has ever been more effectual than all the appeals ever made to his conscience. This idea has been verified frequently in many rights, justice, and labor movements involving economic action. This chapter examines boycotts, divestment, and other economic tactics. We introduce the concept of boycotts or Buycotts to help you strategically spend and invest your money to help instead of hurt. We'll uplift the reality that reputation is a valuable form of currency." And throughout the chapter, they do make the difference between boycotts and Buycotts. During a time when social media, corporate social responsibility programs, and relationship-driven marketing influence how people feel about brands, most companies want to be in good standing with the public. That's why we explore both traditional and innovative methods to apply economic pressure on companies, governments, and other entities possessing social power. Whether we like it or not, money drives governments, political campaigns, for-profit and non-profit organizations, and media. It determines who has privilege and power in society and whose ideas, interests, and communities get left out of public discourse and private decision-making. That's why we explore how we can use our collective strengths and diverse resources, monetary, people power, consumer status, and otherwise, to inspire institutions to embrace practices, policies, and partnerships to best serve the public. Refer to this chapter to learn about boycotts and divestments, Buycotts and how to spend your money wisely, the power of shareholder advocacy, how to use economic pressure to take down an oppressor, how to get your workplace to change/expand corporate policies. Again, as Gloria Steinem said, we can tell our values by looking at our checkbook stubs. Throughout this chapter, you'll hear how economic pressure ignites change. No matter how much each of us has to spend, the choices we make about how we use the power of our purse can build a better present and future for all of us. Field notes, terms and concepts to know. Boycott, an individual or group decision to refrain from purchasing services or goods from a company, organization, or nation as a form of protest and resistance. This term originated in the 19th century when Irish land agent Charles C. Boycott denied calls to lower tenant farmers' rent. In response, his community refused to work with him and left his crops untended. Boycott, an individual or group decision to intentionally purchase services or goods from a company, organization, particular demographic, or nation as a form of support for their practices or policies. Boycotts are often sparked as an act of solidarity to help sustain businesses that are opposing groups are boycotting. While boycotts have been used to drive purchasing toward companies, a common ongoing boycott approach is to favor purchasing from groups such as small businesses, black-owned businesses, or women-owned businesses, a play on the term boycott. Shareholder advocacy. Activists from diverse social justice movements have used public awareness campaigns, grassroots organizing, and other tactics to successfully organize shareholder activists to raise their voices and ask public companies to take action on issues. This tactic was used in recent years to push for divestment, to end apartheid in South Africa, to stop the use of fossil fuels, and to build support for marriage equality in the United States. Shareholder resolutions. Each year, shareholders of publicly held companies may present proposals during a corporation's annual shareholders meeting. These recommendations can involve a range of matters, including structure and governance practices and policies, election spending and lobbying, corporate social responsibility programs, labor rights, and fiscal issues. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, oversees how such proposals and resolutions are managed nationwide. And that was, again, a part of Chapter 3 of the book Roadmap for Revolutionaries. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. Until next time, remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win.